D, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I watched The Last of Us, episode 3 last night, and I have thoughts. This episode was not bad. I just want to say right now, but this episode was more like the Bill and Frank show. And I don't know, because this is like a zombie show, but no zombies. Like, I mean, yeah, well, there was one zombie in this one, but it was like under some rubble and stuff. But I was just like, I'm not gonna lie. In that sense, I was a little disappointed because this was more like the Chronicles of Bill and Frank, and I'm all like, I mean, it's fine, but like this post-apocalyptic meet cute is not what I signed up for. And being someone that didn't play the game, I'm all like, were there no zombies in the game? Was that not what the game was about? These little clickers walking around, attacking people. So I don't know. I did do some a tiny bit of research. I went on one of those Wikipedia things, those fandom wikis, to find out about Bill and Frank. And I'm glad they did it this way in this show instead of like they did in the game, because Frank ends up like leaving or whatever, and I'll talk about when I get to it. But yeah, I was just a little like, I'm disappointed is not the right word, because I wasn't like, when this episode was done, I wasn't like, like upset or anything like that. I just, the whole time I was just like, well, when are the zombies going to show up? And they didn't, not once. So I was like, okay. But so yeah, that's my story on that. I do want to get into this episode because I don't want to take up too much of your time, because it's like I said before, it's not like there's like one zombie in it, and then there's it's just basically like a meet cute kind of thing, and which it's a lovely story, tragic but lovely, but at the same time I just like, I don't know. I don't want to say like this isn't what I signed up for, because I signed up for, a good show, and this was a good, I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about this episode, because I liked it. I liked it. That's just the end of that. I did like it. I did like it, because I know I didn't not like it. And I love the characters of Bill and Frank. I really did like them a lot. And I'll tell you right now, that Pedro Pascal, what a good actor. He's only in the beginning and the end of this, but that Pedro Pascal is a really good actor. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. The other girl, what is her name? Bella something. My judgment is out on her as far as acting goes. I have to watch a little bit more for me to give her the thumbs up and everything. All right, I'm gonna break down this episode, but before I get started on it, I just want to say that if you like what I do here and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube is always changing up their algorithm, and small channels like mine, we just keep getting shoved to the back of the line, you guys. So I ask that you like, share, and subscribe, and I thank you in advance. I really do thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I mean, even if just one person watches this, I'm grateful that somebody somebody cares about what I have to say. All right, let's get started on this. Okay, so it starts off. Okay, so Joel is building like this little like tombstone for Tess, which I called her Val all last episode. I called her Val. Her name is not Val, it's Tess. I am the worst with names, you guys. I really am. Like, even my coworkers, you have no idea. Like, I'll be like, hey, can you go tell what's his face that it's, and they're like, who? And I'll be like, Nick. And they're like, they'll be like, your boss? I'm like, okay, I forgot his name for a hot second. Leave me alone. Okay, so anyways. So he builds this little mini tombstone for Tess, because we lost her last episode, which was a bummer, because I really like that actress. I really do. She's great. And so he's really bummed right now. And you can tell, like, Pedro Pascal is a really good actor. So they're 10 miles west of Boston. So they're pretty far. Now, in the game, Fedra is coming after them. And so far, we haven't seen any of that in this show. Like, I'm very curious to see if they'll do that at all. So then she's like, do you want your jacket back? And she's he throws her some food, and he's okay. So here's the thing. He's upset with her because Tess died. And then she goes, listen, I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about Tess, I think she says, and he's like, he says something like, I don't need, you don't need to like apologize or whatever. And she's like, I'm not. She's like, Tess wasn't my fault. Uh, you guys decided you needed a truck battery and you decided to take me along because that's what you needed and you signed up for it. So it's all on you. It's not on me. I didn't do this. So stop blaming me for it. And I was like, ooh, that's good because and you can tell on his face right here. Hold on, let me just because he gets this look on his face like he's like, yeah, you're right. I was blaming you. I was blaming you for Tessa's death. And he gives her like a nod, and I'm like, oh, that's good. That's good. I liked that a lot. There's a lot of good stuff in this episode. It's just it wasn't what I thought it was gonna be. There better be some more zombies. Like even if we just have one episode where it's just zombies galore, it will be worth it getting through all this, this chronicles and love stories kind of thing. I just or some kind of action like when are the bad humans going to show up? That's what I want to know. And when's Fedra going to show up? Because all right, sorry, let me get on with this episode. I'll ask my questions at the end. So then they start walking and she's asking him questions and stuff, and one thing is they come across this store right here, right? I can't hold on, was the plane in here? Hold on, I'm sorry you guys, I just need to okay, so they come across this store, right? This gas station. And this store. And they go in and he's all like, I left some stuff here because when you're traveling, you leave some stuff and you go and you get so that way when you run out of stuff. And she finds this, so he's got a stash here somewhere. And she finds this Mortal Kombat 2 arcade game. And she's like, "Oh, I knew a guy that knew everything about this game." And there's this character Melina that she takes her her mask off, and she's got these monster teeth, and she swallows you whole, and then she spits out your bones. And I'm all like, "That's so cool!" Because listen, when the first one came out, Mortal Kombat came out. Oh my gosh, I love that game. I love Mortal Kombat 2. And she's so right. Like it's such a good game. And yes, but and you keep remembering like she's never played this game before. She's never seen all this stuff because she was born after the outbreak. And I'm all like, man. Oh, I forgot to okay, so this is he explains to her right now how it happened. Or maybe it's now. I can't remember. Hold on. I'll tell you what, I'll get to it and whatever when we get to it. So she explains the game and she's all like, there's nothing in here. It's all been picked over because he hasn't been here in years. So he's trying to find a stash. And she's like, is there anything back here? And he's like, I doubt it. But she finds this little manhole. Now, when she opened this up, I'm not going to lie, I kind of got a little scared. Like, I was like, oh, crap. I was like, oh, a zombie's going to jump out at her. But he didn't jump out at her. So she jumps in the hole and she sets up this trash can so she can get out. And she's looking around and she finds, hold on, let me see if I can get a good shot of it. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Hold on. Boom. She finds some tampons and she's like, yes, score. And I was like, yeah, good for you, kid. Good for you. And then she hears a or something like that. Whatever noise the clickers make. I called them the clackers one time, and I'm gonna call them clackers. That's funny. Clack, 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 clack. And this clicker is underneath a bunch of rubble. So maybe this was like a person that got in here, and then this caved in on him, and then like the fungus got him, and he like slowly changed. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't matter what happened to him. So she goes up to him, and she sees him and everything, and oh, that's making me itch. Oh, I do not like that. This stuff right here that looks like noodles. So she cuts a little sliver of it, and this part right here, oh, it's making me itch. I do not like it. She cuts him, and he's just like, whatever about it, and it's kind of growing a little bit out of his head, and then she stabs him right in the head. She just like straight up like ah! And everything. And it makes me wonder, is she like a crazy person? But it also makes me wonder, like, was she doing it for sympathy? Was she all like, sorry, dude? A small piece of me is like, not a small piece. A piece of me is like, she wasn't doing it for sympathy. She was straight up like, I'm an angry person and I'm taking it out on you. But then again, who would she take it out on? Because they're monsters. Okay. So he's like, Ellie, and she's all like, yeah, she's like, I thought you thought it was picked over, punk. And he's all like, oh, and she keeps asking for a gun. Remember that. She keeps asking for a gun. He's gonna leave this big gun. Uh, and he puts it in this hole, and she's like, come on. And he's like, there's not enough ammo for it to be useful. So we're just gonna leave it for next time if we need it next time, kind of thing. And then she's all, what about me having? He's like, no. So they start walking, and this is where she sees this plane, and she's like, oh, you ever been in one? And he's like, a couple of times. And she's like, oh, I bet it was great. And he's like, it wasn't as great as you thought it was. And she's like, yeah, but you got to go up in the air. And I'm all like, and again, I'm all like, man, and let me just get the thing straight. Planes are not that great. Like, I've been in a couple of planes, and I don't know. I have a thing with heights, and I don't like it. And planes, if there's a small little, I'm all like, we're gonna die kind of thing. So then so she talks about it, and then they talk about how it spread so fast, and he's all, and this part was also really, really good because he talks about how, like, they think it got into something that was like flour. He mentions flour, and he mentions like, and he mentions it got into like people were eating and it got into pancakes. They were eating on Friday. So he mentions like, and I goes back to the first episode, and I didn't know this. And apparently a friend I asked about, I have a coworker that played the game and he really likes it. And I'm like, don't tell me what happens, because I want to know what happens, and the stuff I need to know, I'll look it up afterwards. Like, I looked up Bill and Frank. So he says, so they didn't, the first episode, his neighbors were like, as I was like, how did that old lady get the virus, the fungus? And they were eating biscuits at the beginning of the episode. And when he's all like, she'll come over and spend as much time as she wants. And then he forgot the pancake mix, which he mentions here. He forgot the cake at the end of the episode, which has flour in it. And then the family was eating the cookies after that and everything. So these people, so he mentions like, you eat this stuff on Friday, you get sick on Saturday, Sunday, you change. And then he's like, by Monday, the world had ended. And I was like, ooh, that's good. The world was destroyed in a weekend. I was like, that's crazy. But feasible. So he explains that whole situation here. And then he's all like, so then he's like, we're gonna go this way through the woods, kind of thing, like Robin Hood and Little John. And she's like, why don't we just say, when the road be easier? And he's like, yeah, but there's things I don't want you to see. And she's like, will it hurt me? And he's like, no. And she's like, then let's do this. And they come across this field where there's just a bunch of you can see a bunch of skeletons. Hold on, a bunch of skeletons. And these are people. So he explains that Fedra, the government, when they would evacuate small towns, and they'd be like, hey, we're going to take you to a quarantine zone, and we're going to take you there, and you're going to live there. But they didn't have room for everybody, and because they didn't have resources. So when they ran out of room, they just killed you. And she's like, well, they didn't let him live. And he's like, dead people can't get infected. And that was really sad, but I'm pretty sure it would be true to form, if it was the real thing, and which is so sad. Like, if crap hits the fan, you can't trust, stuff. I'm just saying, protect yourselves. And then you see luggage, and it's very obvious these people, it's so sad, because I bet you these people were just like thinking they were like holding out hope. And if you look right here, this part really, like, I thought was really, really sad. So you see this woman, this right here, and then you see this is a baby, because you see this little blanket right here, and then you see this dress, and they kind of zoom in on it. And this is really sad. It's really sad, because then the next scene is this woman and her baby. And then you realize that they didn't make it. And I'm all like, and that the government executed them. And it just makes me go, all these people right here, all these people, they were all in that little pit. And that's really, really sad. That's really, really sad. because even if there was like no like I don't know, man, like human life becomes so in certain situations human life just becomes so, I'm looking for the right word, like people just don't care about human life, and I'm just like, really, man, I just don't know. I would try to save as many people as I possibly could. It's so they're going through this town, all right, and so Bill here is, or is this, yeah, Bill here is, he's got cameras. He's just watching everything. So the government, they all leave. They take these people away to murder them. And then he opens up this little thing, which I thought was really cool, like clever and everything. I wish I had one of these little things. Not because which by the way, I have a brother who is a he's like a doomsday prepper or a survivalist, if you will, whatever you want to call it. And he's got stuff like this all over the place, but I wish I had like a little bunker like this, even though I'm not a doomsday prepper, just because it's kind of cool. So then he goes out and he realizes that everybody's gone, so he's all like, all right, it's time to get to work. So he gets to where he fills up these big barrels with gas. He goes to this Home Depot. He grabs a bunch of stuff. He goes to the water place to make sure the water's on, or the gas. Is that gas? Yeah, the gas. He turns on his generator. He just gets everything going so he turns this this little small area that he's got into a compound. He turns it into like a compound, which is very cool, very good idea kind of thing. So, and he's chopping wood, and he's setting up booby traps and everything, getting a greenhouse going, he's making food, delicious dinners and stuff. And then he gets a thing where he sees one of the zombies coming in, and it's got a little booby trap, and it's basically like it kills him, the zombie. And he opens up he has a little remote control for his little gate, so he can leave, can come and go and everything. And this is so 4 years. So he's been by himself for 4 years. And so he's sitting here and he's making stuff. He's, and he gets a little beep beep thing for one of his traps. So he goes in there and he's like, I'm not infected. And he goes to the hole and he's like, are you armed? He's like, no. And he's like, why did you take so long to answer? And he's like, I thought I would lie. I thought that might help me or whatever. But he's not infected. And this is Frank. He's like, please, can you just let me out, kind of thing. I'm trying to get to Boston. There was 11 of us when we came, and I'm the last one, kind of thing. And I'm all like, it's a good thing you didn't go to Boston, because you wouldn't have made it through the big horde. The horde is crazy. So then he gets him out, and he tests him. And he's like, Boston's that way. And he's like, listen, he's like, I haven't eaten anything. And he's like, listen, dude, if I let you in here and I feed you, then I got to feed every single person that comes through here. And I ain't got the resources for that. I got the resources for me. And that's it, buddy. And Frank's all like, come on, dude, let me in here. I haven't eaten in 2 days. He's like, it sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud and everything. So he gets a shower and he's like, hey, I got you clothes. And he's like, can I just spend 5 more minutes in here? This is great because it's hot water. And I'm all like, yeah, a hot shower is like awesome. He's like, yeah, go ahead. And yeah, and I just want to say, like, right now, like his nether regions are tingling, get what I'm saying? So he's sitting here and he sees the piano, and he's sitting, and he's just like looking at all this stuff, and he comes in with dinner or lunch, and he gives him some wine. He's all like, you paired rabbit with a nice a Bordeaux or whatever he says. I can't remember. And they eat, and he's like, this is so good. And he's like, yeah, when you haven't eaten in days, anything tastes good. And he's like, yeah, but this is good. And he's like, I can't eat anymore. This was fantastic. And he's like, can I check out your piano? He plays Linda Ronstadt. Now, I just have to say, I'm not like a huge Linda Ronstadt fan or anything like that. But this song was very fitting for this episode, because then he starts playing and he's not very good at it. He's like, and then Bill starts playing. And then, long story short, they make out, and he's like, go take a shower, Bill. And then he comes in and he's all like, have you ever done this before? And he's like, once with a girl. And then he's like, listen, he's like, if we're going to do this, buddy, I'm going to stay for a couple of days. He's like, I'm not just, a one and done kind of girl, if you get what I'm saying. I'm all like, good for you, Frank. And so then they jump, they jump to 3 years later in 2010, and they're fighting. They're having a little lovers quarrel, and he's all like, I am going to, he's like, I want to build up I want to fix some of the shops and everything. And I want to, and he's like, and if you say resource management, I'm gonna leave or something like that. And I'll mention something in the end from the game or whatnot. So, gosh, I'm taking way too long for this episode. So, and he's like, I want to have friends over. I want to invite friends so that way things are nice. And he's like, we don't have any friends. And he's all like, well, we will, because I've been talking to a nice lady on the radio. And he's like, you did what? And then we see Tess and Pedro Pascal, Joel, and he's got a gun. He's got a gun right here. I like that. And he does not trust any of them. And these two go inside to talk because they're just like, ladies, girl talk and everything. And he's all like, and he goes, listen, I understand that, you have a great place here and you want to protect it and get that gun out of my face. And I was like, ooh, Joel, getting a little testy. And he's like, but you need resources. And he's all like, that chain link fence over there, he's like, it's starting to rust and everything, but I can get you, titanium or some crap like that. And he's like, it'll last you, forever. And he's like, we could trade. So then these two are talking about what they can do for each other. And he's all like, listen, he's like, I don't trust you. And he's like, I don't trust you, but this is what my man wants, and I'm going to give it to him because that's it. I'm going to give him something else later. Anyways, so Joel tells him, he's like, listen, he's like, you're secluded enough where you don't have to really worry about the walkers, the zombies. But he's like, what you're going to have to worry, and Fedra won't go. The government's not going to come up here because you're so secluded and everything and all that stuff. He's like, but you're going to have to worry about scavengers and raiders. He's like, they'll come at night and they'll come armed. So you need to be prepared. And he's like, trust me, I'm prepared. And I'm like, yeah, yes. So 3 years later, and look at this, he built this little car wall up, which when I saw this, as soon as I saw this, I was like, how did he get those cars up there? I'm like, what kind of equipment did he have to put these cars on top of each other? And then I was like, you know what? Why ask why but dry, So, and they're running and he's all like, I can't keep up. He's like, you're much younger than me. And he's like, I have a surprise for you. And they go into these bushes and they're strawberries. And he's all like, I traded Tess for I gave her something, a gun. And I traded her for a packet of seeds. And he's like, which gun? He's like, one of the small ones. And I was like, that's cute. See, it's a little meat cute. And then they eat a strawberry and he cries because it's so good. And they remember like how good it was. And my wife's so funny. She's like, oh, but there's probably dirt on it. And I'm like, yeah, but if you hadn't had a strawberry in what, 10 years, would you care? I'd even eat the green part, the leaves and everything. Although sometimes eating the green part isn't that bad. You don't need to taste it. And so they're happy. They obviously they're gonna make love, but he's like, not on the strawberries. And I'm like, yeah, not on the strawberries. So then I don't know if it's that night, but at some point in time, the raiders come. And it's raining, it's at night. And they set off the alarm. And it sets off these little, I want to play this real quick. It sets off these little sparklers and then these little flamethrowers. I was like, ooh, look at that. And so Frank goes to look outside and he's like, Bill, and everything. So he gets a small gun from, if you pay attention to this, because this pops up later, he gets a small gun from this little cabinet. And then he goes outside and there's, these guys are being lit up and shot at. And here's Bill. And he's out there. And then Frank goes out there and he distracts Bill. Gosh, sorry, guys. He distracts Bill, and then Bill gets shot. And I'm like, Frank, he was doing a good job. Let him do his work, buddy. You distracted him. You're the reason he got shot. But they get inside the house, and he's like, he starts giving him instructions, like, keep the gas on. It'll the flamethrowers and stuff will take care of the raiders and stuff. He's like, I've made copies of all the keys, yada yada, all this other stuff, right? Because he thinks he's going to die. And he saves him, obviously. And so then he blacks out, and then we fast forward, and I can't, how many years is this later? Does it say? 10 years later. So we're at 2023, right? And they're old. And Frank is in a wheelchair because I'm assuming he has MS, and he can't paint anymore. And because if you look at this painting, it's very obvious that, like, if you look at his skills are waning. Like, you can see maybe this is where he started the painting, and then this is where he's just gotten. And I have to say, even though he's sick, this is very abstract and avant-garde. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So then it shows him, and he's like, did you take your pills today? And it's very obvious that Frank has become dependent 100% on Bill. And then that night he goes to sleep, but Frank doesn't go to sleep. When Bill wakes up, Frank is in his wheelchair, and he's like, it took me all night. I'm exhausted. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, and he sits down, and he goes, I'm going to have a good day today because this is going to be my last day. And he's like, and he goes, this is what we're going to do. He's like, and this part was really sad. I just have to say, it was really sad. So he goes, well, this is what we're going to do. He's like, we're going to have a great day because it's going to be my last day. He's like, you're going to take me to the clothing shop, which you fixed up. You're going to wear what I tell you to wear, and we're going to get married, and then you're going to cook a delicious dinner. And then when we're done, you're going to crush up all of these. And he holds up those pills, and he's like, you're going to put in my wine, and then I'm going to go to sleep and die in your arms. And I thought that was really sad. Yeah, it was really sad. That's so sad. And of course, he's really bummed because it's like, this is the person that he loves. This is his person. And so he's like, if you love me, you will do this for me. And I was like, man, that's so sad. And that's such a big ask, you guys, for somebody. Like, I don't know if I could do it. I really don't know if I could do it. And my wife is so funny because when we were watching this, she was like, if you ever asked me to do that, you'd have to call your brother to help you do it, because I couldn't do it. And I was like, I would, and he would. So they do, and he points out the flowers, and I was like, oh, this is such a little meet cute it's so cute. And I'm like, and it's a bummer that we didn't get to see, because we won't get to see more of these characters. These characters are really good characters. So anyway, so they get married, and I'm all like, man. And then they have dinner, which he makes them their last meal was their first meal together. And I was like, this is hardcore sad right now. I'm like, this is really sad. It's the same wine and everything. So when they're done, he brings in the wine and he fills it up. And then he takes this whole bag right here and he puts it in one wine glass, and then he spins it. Now, I just want to say, if you look at this wine, there was no way he put that bag of pills inside that glass of wine, because A, the level of it didn't rise and it disintegrated like that. Okay. That's not how it works, you guys. He put pretty much like a bag of sand in there. It wouldn't dissolve that fast. Or maybe it would. What do I know about stuff like that? But I'm just saying. So he downs it. And then he downs his glass, and he's like, you put pills in the bottle. He's like, yep, enough to knock out a horse. And he's like, I've had a good life with you. And it's basically the equivalent of, I don't want to live in this world without you in it. And because you are my reason. And we'll talk about it a little bit later on, but Joel leaves so then they go to, he's like, I should be mad at you, but it's so sweet. And so he wheels him to the bedroom, and they go in there, and then they shut the door. And then we go back to Joel, and Joel comes over. Oops, sorry about that. Joel comes over, and he opens it up, and he walks in, and he notices the flowers, and he realizes that Bill and Frank would not let this pass, or Bill would not let this pass. So he knows something is wrong. And they go in, and he doesn't find anybody. He's like, if you see anything, say something. See something, say something. And so she's just hanging out, and she notices a letter and he goes to knock on the door where they are, their bedroom. But then he goes in there and he's like, "Are they dead?" And she's like, "Yeah." And it said on the envelope, to whoever but it says to whoever but probably Joel. And then it basically says that Joel was pretty much the only one that was going to get in here alive. So it's probably Joel. And he says something along the lines of like, Frank was my person to protect, and he was my reason, and he was my person to protect, and Tess is your person to protect. And I'm all like, man, that probably hit it. And Pedro Pascal's facial expressions in this is very good. He's doing a very good job. He's earned an what is it, 60 million? Yeah, and he's like, keep Tess safe. And I'm all like, man, I bet you that hurts. I bet you that hurts. And then it says I saved him, and then he saved me. And then it does but I think that he's just replaced Ellie with Tess now, and Ellie is his person that he needs to protect. He's trying to find his brother, but I don't even know what happened to his brother. If you know, don't tell me. So he's really bummed right now, and you can tell he's about to break. Like it's like, man, this sucks. But he leaves him a truck, and the battery's gone, but he looks in the fridge and there's the battery. And I don't know how that works. There's like sulfate in there or whatever. I don't know how batteries work, so I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, but it's a thing. So he's like, "Hey, I got the battery charged and we're gonna get out of here." And he's like, "Show me the scar." And he's like, "No matter what, don't show anybody that your arm, because they will kill you right on the spot." And he's all like, what else? I'm trying to think what they say here. Oh, he's telling her, he's like, the rules. She's like, so what are he's like, first off, don't ever bring up Tess again, ever. And then he says some other stuff. I can't remember, but he's like, so repeat the rules to me. And she's like, whatever you say goes. And I'm like, oh, that's good. And so they go down here. The 80s music that popped up at the end of episode 1, that was him. And it was on a timer, and that if he didn't reset the timer, it sent out the signal, and that's all you heard on the radio. And I was like, oh, okay, gotcha. So then they start packing up, and she's like, the women's shirt's small to medium. So she gets her shirt that I guess is from the game. She takes a hot shower, and she's like, you're going to take a shower too. And then she finds the gun in the drawer from before. She puts that in her bag, and then she's like, you clean up nice, kind of thing. So they get in the car. She gets it. She's never been in. He's like, you never been in a car before? And she's like, no, it's like going to space. And I was like, oh, that's so crazy. It's like all this stuff. It's like, listen, I have children. And so like when they experience something new, it's like, I get to experience it again, but through their eyes. And it's, I'm not going to lie. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. And so it's like him getting to experience this stuff for the first time again. So she finds a tape and she puts on Linda Ronstadt, and he's like, oh, you know who Linda Ronstadt is? She's like, no, of course I don't. And it's the song that they were playing, and they're going through the town, and hold on, I'm trying to get through. They open up the gate and they leave because this is the last time they'll be here. And then it goes to the window where the bedroom of Bill and Frank, because they said it said in the letter, this is so sad. It said in the letter, we left the window open so it didn't stink up the house. But don't come in. Because we don't want you to see us like that. And then they don't show them. This is the last scene of the episode, and they don't show them, which is good. But and then that's where the episode ended, you guys. And it was really, really sad. So apparently in the game, Bill and Frank have a little spat, right? They have a little argument, and Frank leaves. And then Bill, and then they find and then I guess he gets bitten, and then he hangs himself. And they find him, and Frank leaves Bill a letter saying how he hates him. And I'm glad they didn't do that here because this was much better in terms of like the story wise and heartfelt and everything. And it was more, I think it was better than that. And from what I understand, you don't really get to spend too much time with Bill and Frank. But at the end of it, you leave Bill and he's still alive. So I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get to see more of these characters, but at the same time, what we did get to see was I thought pretty good. I thought pretty good, and good representation and everything. Because I know that that's important. But at the same time, it's important, but it's got to be good. If you're just putting in representation, then you're just writing some crappy story and expecting me to accept it because of representation. I don't think so. So, yeah, this was a good episode. It was not what I was expecting, and I really hope next week there's some more action because I need that for this show. I need some more action because if the next episode is like this one and there's no action, I'm kind of gonna be bummed. Like I'm gonna be bummed. I'm gonna be like, is this what we're getting the whole season? But yeah. All right, you guys, those are my thoughts and everything in my breakdown. Sorry it took so long. It took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. But tell me what you guys thought about this episode. Did you like it? Did you not like it? How do you like it compared to the game? Was this better? Was this worse? What did you guys think about it overall? Tell me what you guys thought. Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys next week on my Last of Us breakdown and review. You guys have a good week. Bye.